Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar of the Graduate School of Health Sciences at Koç University. Today we're going to be talking specifically about our master's and PhD programs in immunology. So welcome everyone. We're just going to wait a couple of seconds so that people who are going to be joining today can all have a chance to join today's session. Whilst we wait for everyone to join, we want to go over some basic webinar ground rules to make sure that this is a satisfactory and good experience for everyone. So just so you know, all of your microphones are muted. We will be answering questions at the end of the presentation. You will be able to write your questions on the chat box that you can see on the right-hand side of your screen. Please wait until the end to write your questions, okay? Please also know that the webinar is recorded. And, oh, sorry, I'm seeing that there's a yellow rectangle. Okay, so I need to sort something out technically right now. Let me just, I'll try to do this, okay. Okay, just bear with me for a second. These are all things that I'm going to stop sharing 1 second and I'll share again with you. So I hope everyone can see my screen now and I will put it on full screen. Okay, so I hope that's better now. Apologies for that. So, as I was saying, the webinar is being recorded. We are due to last for 1 hour and 30 minutes. And the presentation and the webinar recording will be sent via email after around 3 days, okay? So today we're very excited to introduce our speakers. The first speaker is Professor Yasemin Gursoy Özdemir, who is the director of the Koç University Graduate School of Health Sciences. If you have participated in some of our previous webinars from the Graduate School of Health Sciences, you already know her. So we're happy to have her again to give us again a kind of overview of the graduate school and also answer specific questions from you at the Q&A section. And then of course, we're very, very excited to have here Associate Professor Yıldız Tutuncu from the Department of Immunology at Koç University School of Medicine. And she's the person who will be giving all the details about the two programs. Okay, so to start, the idea for today is that we're gonna have a quick overview of Koç University. Again, the Graduate School of Health Sciences. Then we're going to look into detail about the purpose or aims of the master and PhD programs in immunology. We will look at the research groups, the faculty members, the number of courses, the type of courses that are offered, and career opportunities. Then we will look at what is the admission process. And of course, as we all know, we have some updates regarding our admissions policy in light of the current pandemic and very timely with regards to this specific master program of coronavirus. So we will be talking about that for both Turkish and international applicants. What are the things that they can do to still submit their application for consideration for fall 2020 admission? We will then talk about the tuition for the master program and the scholarships that are available for both the master's and the PhD program. We will very briefly talk about some specific support and opportunities that are available for international applicants. And then we will have around 20 to 30 minutes, hopefully, to answer all of your questions. If there are questions that we're not able to answer today, please do not worry. You can always contact us via email, both the graduate school and the international admissions team, so that you can answer we can provide answers to your questions. Okay, so we're gonna move on now. So for those of you, especially those of you joining us from outside of Turkey, it's worth mentioning very briefly, who is Koç University, if this is the first time that you're coming across it or you know very little about the university. So Koç University is a young research-intensive university located in Istanbul, Turkey. We were set up 26 years ago with the mission of becoming a center of excellence that provides world-class education and creates new knowledge for the benefit of society, not only of Turkey, but to have an impact, a positive impact on a global scale. We are a small university when you look at, for example, the number of students that we have in total, that it's now close to, or just above, 7,000 students with around 500 faculty members. So within the context of Turkey, that is considered small. However, being small doesn't mean that we don't punch above our weight in terms of the impact that we have been able to have in the past 26 years. So now we're offering undergraduate, master, and PhD programs. We will talk about today specifically about our health sciences programs and in immunology. And one of the things, as I said, because we're a research intensive university, is that we have invested a lot of resources in terms of expanding our research capabilities, our research infrastructure and facilities, and especially hiring excellent faculty members from all around the world who are, have received the best training in terms of research, and now they are sharing that knowledge and those skills and that experience with our graduate students. Very briefly, and I apologize for the noise outside, we're in Istanbul and we're all working from home, so sometimes we have street noises around us. So I just want to briefly show you a picture of our beautiful campus, which is located in the northwest of Istanbul, very close to the Black Sea and the third bridge over the Bosphorus. Rather than telling you about what we have and don't have on our campus, I invite you to check out the Koç University YouTube channel, where you can find several videos that have areas, student videos where you can see all of the different facilities available to you as a prospective graduate student. As I mentioned, and we keep going on and on about research because it is very important, and you will see also why. Right now, Koç University is the top recipient of national research awards awarded, for example, by the Turkish National Science Foundation and other organizations like the Science Academy of Turkey. We are also now the highest recipient of ERC grants in Turkey. ERC stands for European Research Council. These are extremely competitive individual grants that are given to principal investigators across all different fields. Koç University now has the highest number of these grants in Turkey. Same thing can be said about the number of papers, like scientific papers, which are published per faculty member, and also the impact that those publications have in different fields. And again, for us, life sciences and health sciences, it's a very exciting area of growth as a university, because there has been a substantial increase in the number of faculty members, laboratories, and graduate students in the past 4 years. And another thing is that we have very strong relations with industry, both in Turkey and outside of Turkey, that allow us to do a lot of applied research across different areas in basic sciences, engineering, health sciences. And it's helping us, again, develop a very strong network of centers and projects with industry. Okay, so now I'm going to ask Professor Yasemin to unmute her microphone and join the webinar to give us a quick overview and give welcome to participants and talk about the Graduate School of Health Sciences. So Professor Yasemin, if you can join us now.
Okay, thank you very much, Melissa, and welcome everyone. I am very excited to discuss our new immunology program with you. Where are we located? I will just go over it, because Melissa said that we have a very good campus facility, but we have also very new cutting-edge technology, including hospital at the Topkapı, Istanbul. And this hospital is opened in 1914, and now around like 400 inpatient rooms are available, and we have intensive care units, and also we are research laboratories located in both hospital and also at the Rumeli Feneri campus. So there will be two parts, but for the immunology, we think that we are mainly will be located at the hospital site, since we are planning to open a new immunology based laboratory in addition to our cutting edge new facilities. So the immunology mostly will be located at the hospital. We can pass to Melissa, we can pass to the other. So we have, from here you can see that we have other master and PhD programs, and immunology program has both master with thesis and non-thesis. In addition, there is a PhD program for the immunology. We can go over, yeah. So what is our PhD programs compared to the Europe and the US? Actually, we are very different from the European programs because they have 3+3 years and mostly they are combining the master and the PhD together. But we are here offering both separately, and for the non-thesis master programs, we at least want 10 lectures with 30 credits, and the graduation project is necessary. With the thesis master programs, in order to get 10 lectures, we just decrease the lectures to the minimum 7 lectures with total 21 credits. But now you are required to do a research thesis, and this thesis will provide other credits for you. And for the PhD program, actually it is 4 years with master, but you can also directly enter the PhD program and do master and PhD together in 5 years. So we call it a combined program, or in Turkish, bütünleşik program. So here you have to, at least for this combined program, you have to get 42 credits, minimum 14 lectures, courses, and for just direct PhD, you can do 7 courses with 21 credits. For the PhD, as you know, there is a qualification examination, and after that you can perform your research thesis, and then you can graduate from the program. So you can see the years and the requirements here. And what we have in the graduate school as a science laboratories and the facilities, actually we have microbiology, genomic and proteomic laboratories, stem cell, gene transplant, neurophysiology, anatomy laboratories. But in addition to that, I have to say that we have a microscopy facility with a cutting edge new microscopes. And also we have a microbiology laboratory with BCL3 system inside it. It provides a good opportunity, especially to study with the viruses like the coronavirus nowadays. And Yıldız Hoca will mention that we have actually our university got a grant from the Europe, and we will be establishing immunology lab, I mean in like maybe 6 to 7 months. So we have very high quality, cutting edge laboratories that will enable for you to develop your projects and the thesis. And Kuttam is the actually umbrella for these laboratories. So it is a translational medicine research center, and our faculty members, they don't have their separate lab spaces. Instead, all of us work at the Kuttam facilities, and like the microscopy facility, like the animal research facility, like the immunology facility. So Kuttam has a places at both Rumeli Fener Campus and Koç University Hospital. And we have actually our PhD students and the master students also, they are a part of the Kuttam. And there are postdoc researchers, and we have very much a lot of projects like national and international projects ongoing in this laboratories. And other than the health faculty, health related faculty, there are engineers and the life sciences faculty members. They are also working in the under the umbrella of the Kuttam facilities. And what do we provide for the students if you are accepted as a full-time and scholarship with this stipend paid scholarship program, then you will be getting, actually this is not the slide, I will mention that later. But from the university, maybe Melissa, you can just go over it. We have a lot of facilities in the university, like the research facilities, training and support from the Learning and Teaching Center. Actually, this center is very good. Maybe Melissa, you can describe it.
This is one of my favorite slides in all of the presentations that we always do, because it's something that it is quite unique as a university, what we offer to graduate students. Some of the things will be familiar to those of you currently doing maybe master program at other universities, but it's something that not all universities offer. And we put, again, a lot of resources and time and effort to offer things like, for example, our central library in terms of access to electronic journals and papers and databases, and a lot of training for researchers in terms of how to use those resources. We also have an Office of Learning and Teaching, which provides training through workshops and one-on-one coaching for all of our master and PhD students so that they can become better at teaching. Because as a graduate student, you will have a certain number of hours that you have to basically work as a teaching assistant by, with one of the professors in supporting undergraduate level courses. And of course, your RA or research assistantship. Then we also have a lot of support in terms of how to be better academic writers, and especially in English, which again expands a lot the type of impact that you can have as a researcher. So we have a graduate language program, writing center that provides one-on-one services, the academic writing course, which is mandatory for all graduate students. And then for those graduate students that want to, or that are thinking that they want to, for example, commercialize some of their work and the research that they're doing with their supervisors, then we have support services for research in terms of technology transfer, also an incubation center, which is available for students and also for alumni. For international students, we have specific support services, which are offered by our international community office. So before you arrive in Turkey and in Istanbul, they are in contact with all of our international students to provide information and support in terms of the kind of bureaucratic procedures that everyone has to follow when they're moving to study abroad in a new country. So this would include travel, visa, applying for a student residence permit, support with accommodation if you're going to be renting privately, opening a bank account, these sort of things. And then once you're a student, we know that it's a difficult transition to go to a different country where you may not speak the local language. So they do several events and activities throughout the year to support the integration of our international graduate students with the rest of the Koç community and within themselves. So they organize trips, they organize cultural activities. That's the idea of this support, okay? Okay. So I'm very excited now to invite Professor Yildiz to unmute her microphone so that we can talk in more detail about today's topic, which is the master's and the PhD in immunology. So Professor Yildiz, if you can open your microphone, I'll ask you to please introduce yourself, okay?
Hi everyone, my name is Yıldız Tütüncü. I am an associate professor in Department of Immunology. I I graduate in medical bioscience, and after I filled my PhD and MS degree in immunology, and I'm basic immunology associate professor, and now I prepared some slides for you, and immunology is a multidisciplinary program, and it really brings together a number of different disciplines with the idea that if you were to apply research in biological and medical sciences, it is an opportunity to benefit from the synergies of those different groups coming together. We actually do clinical research often by participating in clinical trials. We use tissues that have been such as specimens that have been obtained from patients. We have already a great interaction with the clinical side. We have access to state-of-the-art equipment. This hospital has also an opportunity to basic research with patient specimens, and so there the opportunity of the way, and there are really unique opportunities as a student working in an environment that takes you beyond just the sort of classroom experience of university. This program was established in this year, and it will be accepting students this semester for the first time. This is to explain to you what our graduate programs looks like, and if, we have some few options to consider in the immunology programs, and that you can see here some immunological multidisciplinary. We have a group of you can work advanced clinical immunology, transplantation. We have some group neuro-immunology, allergy, autoimmunity, tolerance, tumor biology, immunobiology, and infection and immunity. Yeah, please. And yeah, this program, our immunology programs are masters with thesis and without thesis, PhDs, masters. If you choose to degree in immunology, you could be a master's student, or if you are sufficient qualified, or if you want. You can straight away initiate as a PhD student, or you have a master prior to applying to our program. You will come in a PhD student as a PhD student. Those 2 degrees require a qualifying exam and a thesis and defense of thesis in order to graduate. You can and master program, we have a master program in with thesis. You can project with a supervisor. You should take you must take a minimum 10 courses, and you prepare a project in a semester, and in MS with masters with thesis, the purpose of the immunology field of study is really to provide advanced training and specialization, where you would come into lab. You would develop your own project, and you would create original scientific research from that project, and you should take minimum 7 courses and 1 no credit seminars. And in the PhD program, if you apply direct entry from BS, you should take minimum 14 courses. And if you have already MSc degree, you should take a minimum of 7 courses. We have required courses. Our required courses are biostatistics, bioethics, basic concepts of immunology, and fundamental immunology. And and we have some elective courses you can take in other groups, in other PhD programs or MS programs courses. And yeah, we can pass. Yeah, we have some research immunology. You can see here our research immunology teams. We have allergic disease teams groups. In allergic rhinitis, allergic skin disease, they work allergic rhinitis, allergic skin disease, and food allergy. Professor in that group, Professor Saçkesen and Bayram and Erkan, they work with that topic. Transplantation, we work about liver transplantation and neuro-immunology, and airway disease groups of Professor Bayram and Professor Saçkesen they work about that topics. Tumor biology, Professor Erkan worked on tumor biology and microenvironment of cancer, and neuroimmunology groups. We have 2 different groups. Professor Altıntaş and Dr. Rural. They work about multiple sclerosis, neuromyelitis optica, autoantibody-mediated nervous system disorders, and rare genetic disorders. Infection and inflammatory disease. We have 2 professors in there, Professor Can and Professor Ergönül, and they work about epidemiology, emerging bacterial pathogens, antibiotic resistance, and especially Professor Ergönül focused on Congo hemorrhagic fever, and now they work about coronavirus. And mucosal immunology teams, we have 3 different teams. They work microbiota, eosinophilic esophagitis. Professor Can, Professor Arıkan, and Professor Saçkesen teams, they work on that. They focus on that topics. Also, autoimmunity and tolerance, diabetes and autoimmune hepatitis, and that teams in me and Professor Arıkan work autoimmune hepatitis. We can pass. Yeah, we have a good opportunity right now, because in Earthshare we found a good budget for that project. That project name is T-Rex. We call its acronym is T-Rex, Koç University Transplant Immunology Research Center of Excellence, and this is a very this excited us, because that project effect on Turkey also is a very huge. We believe that. Yes, we can pass. And yeah, collaboration with Kutam. We can work. Kutam supports multidisciplinary working and culture and provides very suitable conditions. It's a state of art, some equipments that it has, and it is a very good opportunity for immunology graduate program students. Yeah. If you graduate from immunology programs, you can continue your research on studies in university. We have many medical medical faculties, several universities in Istanbul or in part of other Turkey, and you can find a good position in industry because immunology knowledge is very it is good effect it can be good effect on your career, and you can find public funded research centers like TÜBİTAK or TUSEP. You can find private funded research centers also. Yes, and yeah, and
so I will jump in here. Thank you very much, Professor Yildiz, for giving us an overview of the master and the PhD program in immunology. We're now going to talk a bit about the admission process. In this part, I will also ask our colleague Ece from the Graduate School of Health Sciences to help us out for this part. So we will first talk about, let me just move the slide. Here you can see on the slide the documents that are required to apply to either the master's or the PhD program. And on the right-hand side, you can see a list of eligible bachelor and master degrees. So if you are currently studying in one of these areas, or you have graduated with a degree, a bachelor's or master's degree from one of these areas, it means that you are able to apply to our immunology master and PhD programs. When you look at the list of documents, of course, you will see the first one is your resume or CV, in which you talk about your personal and educational background. If you have any type of research experience from your undergraduate degree or from your current master's degree, you should make sure that you mention that in your CV. The second document there is a statement of purpose. This is a very important part of the application process to be considered for admission, because this is where you are essentially explaining, it's a motivation letter in which you're explaining why you want to join the master's in immunology or the PhD in immunology. What skills, experience, and knowledge have you gained from your previous degrees or from professional experience? And if there's a particular professor within our program, and we saw the list before, and a topic that you're interested in working in, which is aligned with what our faculty members are working in, that's the document where you explain all of that, okay? Then we ask for 2 or 3 recommendation letters. So it's 2 for the master program and 3 for the PhD program. The recommendation letters are not uploaded directly by you as an applicant, but you write the contact details of the 2 or the 3 referees. Preferably they should be academic. And then they are sent an automatic email from our online application system asking them to write or to upload a recommendation letter on your behalf. If your referees have any problems in terms of internet access, right now, of course, we know that universities are closed and not many may have access to like letterhead paper to upload very formal letters. That's okay. There is a section where you can also upload a recommendation letter if you have problems like that. And Ece can correct me if I'm saying this wrong.
No, you're right.
Okay, all right. Then the 4th element there is the official transcripts from all the universities that you have attended. Here, the transcript should be issued by your university. If you are currently in your last semester of your bachelor's degree or in the last semester of your master's degree, you may not have, for example, final grades for this semester yet, but you can upload all the transcripts you have until now and the current semester courses that you are enrolled in. And of course, if possible, as soon as you're able to receive your final transcripts, then you can also upload, like you can send them to the graduate school so that they can include them in your application. We will show in a bit some more detail about transcripts in terms of GPA requirements. Then for all of our master and PhD programs at Koç University, all applicants, Turkish and international, they are required to provide proof of their English language proficiency. So this is done either through a TOEFL test score or a YDS or YOKDIL exam for those of you who are joining us from Turkey today. We know that there's also limitations right now, and we will explain in the next couple of slides how we're going to go around that for this year. And the last thing on that list is the GRE test scores. GRE, it's a graduate proficiency or readiness exam, which is very common for graduate admissions, especially for life science, health sciences, and engineering programs in the US. As you saw, our programs are very similar in terms of the structure and the supervision and the coursework to American style graduate programs. And this is a requirement not only for Koç University, but it's established by the Higher Education Council of Turkey for all graduate programs. So again, for international applicants, we require a GRE test score, and for Turkish applicants, an ALES test score, okay? As I said, what you see on the right-hand side is the list of eligible bachelor and master's degree. If you have, or you're currently studying in a degree that doesn't have the exact same degree name, perhaps, for example, it's not called biology or biological sciences, that's okay. These are the broad fields that we want to show you to describe that if you're coming from one of these academic backgrounds, you are eligible to be evaluated for admission to the master or PhD in immunology program. Okay, then for those of you wondering, is my GPA enough, high enough or good enough for admission or not? There's no clear rules. Here, what you can see is the minimum GPA requirements. That's the top table that you see on the slide. Having that GPA does not guarantee admission to the program. And if you are just below, it doesn't mean automatic rejection. So Koç University, across all of its graduate programs, applies a selective and holistic admissions approach, meaning the faculty members that we saw on the previous slides, they're going to be looking at all the elements in your application. So they're going to be looking, yes, at your GPA, how was your academic performance in your bachelor or master's degree, but they're also going to look which university you graduated from, if you have any research experience, how your referees are talking about your specific skills and strengths and weaknesses, your statement of purpose, and again, your English proficiency and GRE or ALES score. So everything is taken into account. There's not a single thing that determines whether you are offered admission or not, or whether you are shortlisted for interview or not. So when we look at that, then we see that, for example, for master programs, you should have a GPA, a grade point average of 2.7 or higher on a scale of 4. When you convert that to other scales, and you will be able to do that in our online application form, by the way, you will see that, there are different rules, but the graduate school has a specific scaling to turn that into a scale of 100 or especially to 100. Then for the PhD program, the minimum GPA is 3.5 if you're coming directly from your bachelor's degree. If not, if you have already completed a master's degree, then the minimum GPA is 3. The second table on the slide, you can see again the minimum scores required for the GRE exam and for the ALES exam for those of you joining us from Turkey. Every element in those exams is looked at. However, there is specific, let's say, attention put by the faculty members on the quantitative analysis section, especially of the GRE, because as you saw, there's going to be courses that you have to take that involve quantitative analysis. So they want to make sure that you will be able to cope with the content and the activities that will be involved and the readings and the analysis that you will have to do in those courses. And the last table shows the English proficiency requirement, okay, in TOEFL, which is a very common English proficiency exam, specifically the internet-based test. The minimum score is 80. IELTS, we will make an explanation here about IELTS because it's quite particular to Turkey. IELTS, the minimum score is 6.5. And here it says only for application, meaning right now, the Higher Education Council of Turkey does not recognize the IELTS exam as a valid English proficiency exam. However, you are able to apply to be considered for admission if you already have taken the IELTS exam and it's still valid. But if you're offered admission, you will be asked by the graduate school when you see your offer letter to bring either a TOEFL IBT test score or a YDS Yok Dil for those of you who are from Turkey, either by the time you have to come to enroll or register as a new student in the fall semester or during the first semester, okay? But we don't want you to stop submitting your application if you don't have a TOEFL right now, but you already took the IELTS. That's what we're trying to say. But now we come to the part that's, I know that it's on everyone's mind, and I see that there's questions being written right now. With regards to the coronavirus situation has meant that there are centers like the TOEFL, ETS has decided not to offer tests in the next few months, physical tests that you would go and take in a test center. They have introduced at-home test options, but again, we also know that these are not easily accessible, or not everyone can meet the space and computer or internet access requirements to take this test in the way that they require. So what we want to say here is, if you don't have a GRE or a TOEFL test score right now, you can still submit your application and it will be evaluated. If you're evaluated and the professors, for example, in immunology, they consider that you have a very strong profile as a candidate, they would shortlist you, they would put you in the list of candidates to interview. And if you also perform very well in that interview, what they may offer is a conditional admission offer, okay? In which you would be able to register as a student in the fall 2020 semester, your first semester, but by then you should bring a valid GRE or TOEFL test score. Let's say that in a scenario where still by September or even in late August, you're not able to take these exams, I think there will be some flexibility in that regards. Here I want Eje to correct me again if I'm wrong or not.
No, you're right. I mean, in this case, if they are accepted, they have to declare their exam scores in one semester.
Okay.
If they cannot, their scholarships and benefits are deducted.
Okay, so exactly. So what you need to make sure is that, I mean, all of this is also on our websites, on the graduate school website and in the international admissions website, but you just need to make sure that the graduate school knows that you have registered to take the test at a future date, hopefully in early August, mid-August, late August, but before the fall 2020 registration week, which is usually in September. We don't have a firm start date for the fall 2020 semester. This is also established by the Higher Education Council of Turkey. And again, as soon as we know as a university, the dates will be published on the website. Okay. So the deadline for applying to the master and PhD programs for fall 2020 is the 26th of June this year. The graduate school aims to notify final admission decisions, whether that's accept or a conditional acceptance or a rejection, 4 to 6 weeks after the application deadline. So again, if you are applying for fall 2020, the last date is 26th of June. So you would know if you have been accepted or not around the middle of August, let's say, okay? Or early August, sorry. If you are shortlisted, the graduate school or even directly faculty members will be in contact with you via email to schedule an online interview, because everything right now, of course, we have to do it online. Even if you are living in Istanbul, it might be difficult for you to come to our main campus or come to our Koç University Hospital. Eje, do you want to add any more details about this process here?
No.
No, okay, all right. So with regards to spring admissions, we put here it's to be confirmed, because I know that every year it changes. Some programs may open admissions or not. I think for immunology, they will be open. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So last thing I want to mention here is the whole application process is done online. You can see there the website address. It's apply.ku.edu.tr. The graduate school doesn't accept any application documents via email or via normal traditional post, let's say. You have to upload and write all the information in our online application form. This is showing you also kind of a timeline of when things are going to be happening. Of course, as I said, the registration date for fall 2020 is not confirmed yet, and we are waiting for information from the Turkish government, let's say. We know also that it might be on your minds if you're outside of Turkey, whether, what will happen, for example, if you're not able to physically travel, if there's not going to be flights from your country to Turkey by September. In that case, again, the university as a whole is preparing a policy for both undergraduate and graduate students for the fall semester in terms of how will that be managed, that process, whether, for example, you will still be able to register, but then start in the spring semester, if you will be able to take some courses online from the beginning or not. So all of that will become clearer in the next couple of months. And we just please ask you for a bit of patience, because as you know, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, not only for universities in Turkey, but quite, it's quite the similar situation worldwide. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the tuition and scholarship for the programs. So the immunology master's, let's start with the PhD. So for the immunology PhD, the first thing you need to know, and this is what makes us, again, quite unique as a university, both in Turkey and in the region and in Europe, and when you compare it, for example, with PhD immunology programs in the US, is that we offer 100% tuition fee exemption or waiver to all admitted students to the PhD program. This applies both to international and to Turkish admitted students, meaning there are no tuition fees for our PhD program in immunology. This is why we also say, it's a selective and holistic admissions process, because our faculty members are interested in working with very good students who will become colleagues and be able to contribute to the field. Of course, not immediately. That's why you do this over 4 to 5 years. And they're looking really for outstanding candidates. That's with regards to the PhD. With regards to the master programs, then we do have a tuition for the master with thesis and for the master without thesis. The figure that you see there, that's to be confirmed in the next couple of weeks as well. But our tuition for the academic year, apologies again for the noise, the tuition for the 2020-21 academic year, it's approximately 107,000 Turkish lira, which at the current exchange rate with the US dollar is approximately $15,000. You may be offered a 50% partial tuition scholarship based on academic merit. So if the program faculty members see that you have a very high level of potential as a researcher to do, as a master's student, their interest is to bring the greatest, the best people to the program. So they may offer a 50% scholarship. As we were saying earlier, there is no black and white cutoff grade to say, if I have a GPA of this, or if I have a GRE or ALES score of this, can I get the scholarship? Like when we get those type of questions, the answer is, we don't know, because it's a holistic admissions process. So the decision to both admit you as a student and to offer a partial tuition scholarship is based on all of the elements that constitute academic merit. So your GPA, research experience, recommendation letters, which courses you took before. So all of this is taken into consideration. Okay, so we talked about, just to continue on the topic of PhD programs. If you're admitted to the immunology PhD program, then you also receive a monthly stipend to cover your living expenses. Living expenses in this context refer to food, local transport, books, other expenses, okay? Because we do provide an additional funding for housing expenses. So you can see the amounts there. What it says is before qualifier and after qualifier. Before qualifier means especially like your first year of the PhD program, before you take the PhD qualifying exam. That amount increases after you take the qualifying exam. And again, this is our basic, let's say, baseline stipend for all graduate students. If you are funded through a specific project, and Professor Yildiz was explaining, now they have, for example, this European Union funding for a specific project. If you're one of the students that they fund from that project, then the monthly stipend can vary. I mean, usually it's higher than the Koç University funded stipend, okay? These projects can come from the Turkish National Science Foundation, TÜBİTAK, or they can come from European Union projects, as I said, or it can come from specific industry projects. And for Turkish applicants specifically, there's another sort of source, which is the TÜBİTAK BİDEB scholarships. I'm not very familiar with the details of that, so I will, if you have questions about that, please write your questions and I will ask them our graduate school friends here to answer, okay? If you're joining us and you are one of our current students or you're one of our alumni from Koç University, you also get another tuition discount. Now, besides the tuition waiver for the PhD students and the monthly stipend, then there are the following side benefits that you can see here. So you can either receive housing aid, that you receive as an amount in your bank account every month, or you are offered one of our campus or near campus graduate apartments, which you share with 3 or 4 other graduate students. So for example, if you're coming from outside of Istanbul or outside of Turkey, perhaps, the most convenient thing is to use this benefit. If you don't know the city very well and you don't know how to, go around renting an apartment and all of this. You also receive private health insurance, and during the 4 or 5 years of your PhD, there's also specific travel awards to attend scientific events. If, for example, you have gotten one of your papers with your supervisor or not accepted in a well-known scientific conference, then the graduate school has a yearly pot of money, basically, to help support your travel expenses to attend those scientific events. I see a lot of questions, but I'm not going to start opening it. Now, last part of today, and then we will get to your questions. For those of you who are joining us from outside of Turkey, we just want to point out some sources of guidance and information. The main source is our website, which is international.ku.edu.tr. There is a section for graduate programs and specifically a page called How to Apply. I really encourage you to check that page because we have put a lot of detailed guidance in terms of how to write the statement of purpose. For example, if you want to contact one of the faculty members in immunology, how you should go about that. There's a good way and a bad way, let's say. And I think Professor Yildiz and Professor may have, stories about that, but please make sure that you read that guidance because it will be very helpful to prepare a strong application that will put you in a competitive kind of place, let's say. Now, Koç University has signed a specific agreement with the Türkiye Bursları or Turkish Scholarships Organization. This is a Turkish government organization under the Prime Minister's office, and they offer scholarships for international students from any country to study in a Turkish university. Most of the students who are placed through this program are in state universities, but in the case of Koç, we are also accepting students to our master and our PhD programs. You can see the website there, turkiyebursları.gov.tr, where you can find the details in terms of the documents that they require, which are very similar to the documents that we showed you in our requirements as well. But this basically provides an additional stipend, and they can also help with flights to travel to Turkey, visa support, and other benefits. If you have any questions, I don't want to spend too much time on this right now, but if you have specific questions on how to apply for this scholarship, you can write to us and I will show now our contact details, okay? We also have specific country scholarships through agreements that we have signed either with government agencies or with private foundations in different countries. So if any of you today are joining us or you're watching this later and you're from China, Pakistan, Ghana, Kazakhstan, You can also get in touch with us, or you can find more information on international.ku.edu.tr. Last thing, if you're still in your undergraduate program, let's say that you're not graduating this year, this summer, but you're graduating, let's say next summer, we have a very nice summer research program for undergraduate students. It's for high school students, but it's an opportunity to come and do a research internship with one of our faculty members. So for example, you could be joining the immunology faculty members in ongoing projects that they have and complete a specific task during the summer. What we provide to you is free campus accommodation. Hopefully by next year, you know, that would be a dream, like we will be able to be in our campus during the summer. The applications for that open in February every year, close around March. You can see the website there as well. And of course, you will receive the video recording for today, and you can find all of the details for that program on our website as well. And for those of you, for example, who are currently doing a master's and you feel like you need to improve your academic writing skills specifically in English, then we have developed a new program, which is called Academic English Program for Researchers. This is available for faculty members, for example, people with lecturer or professorship titles in different universities, but also master and current PhD students. It happens again in the summer. This program does have a fee, but the fee includes accommodation. You can find the details on the website that you can see below. Okay, and now we're reaching the end of the presentation. Here you can see the contact details for our Graduate School of Health Sciences. You can contact them via email. Check out the program details on the website. They have a very nice Instagram channel that I highly encourage you to start following from right now. Just pick up your phone and follow the account. And a LinkedIn page as well that you can follow for news about projects and announcements and faculty members. If you're an international student, these are our contact details. So you can, again, contact us by email, through the website. Instagram, I also encourage you to start following us there. And now it's the best part of the webinar, which is question and answer. So we're going to, let me just open the chat box, and I'm going to ask our panelists to also open their microphones so that you can answer the questions. Okay, so we'll start now. So first question, I only have IELTS, no GRE. Am I eligible or not? So AJ, I think the answer is yes, you can apply just with your IELTS, you know, right?
Yeah, he or she can apply with IELTS, but it's not going to be effective to get acceptance. Of course, his or her application is going to be evaluated by a committee and the scientific committee and the directors. But the TOEFL IBT is the one and only acceptable language score exam.
Okay. We have another question. If my GPA is less than 2.7, can I be admitted to the master's? I think, as we said before, the minimums are minimums, but sometimes I guess, you know, there's candidates that have very strong profiles in other ways, in terms of research experience or professional experience. If it's very low, below 2.7, maybe that's then a disadvantage. But yeah, I mean, I think there's no black and white rule, like if you have less than 2.7, don't apply. Correct? I mean, I'm asking this for Professor Yasemin and Professor Yildiz.
Actually, for the scholarship, they have to have very good GPAs and the TOEFL scores because the scholarship amount is limited. So if they want to be involved in the program with the low GPA, and also they can apply for the master's degree with tuition paying option. That's also a possibility. But as you said, that there is no white and black, there are some gray areas. So we just go case by case in every condition.
Okay, great. I also see now that you were also typing some of the questions, but just in case if people are not following up, I'm going to read some of them. So for example, someone who has a specialist degree in gastroenterology, if it's possible for them to do the PhD, and you answered that yes, you know, of course, they will look at all the elements in the application, but in terms of the academic background in gastroenterology, it's eligible. Yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. Then there was a question here about ALES exam being canceled because of coronavirus for PhD students. Is it true? AJ, do you have any updates on the ALES exam? That we
I don't
can...
know actually,
Okay.
but the exams are not going to held on the close places right now, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think if you're currently living in Turkey and you want to take the ALES exam, please check the official website, because they would announce the dates. For example, if they have been postponed to later dates in the summer, they will announce them there. Okay. But it's not completely, I think, canceled for the year. It might have been postponed, I guess. Then we have, okay, this is the question that I was referring to. What is the minimum GPA for scholarship? And as Professor Yasmin was saying, there is no minimum GPA, but of course, for a scholarship, you should be aiming for a good, like high GPA in the scale of 4 or in a scale of 100, whichever scale that your education degree was evaluated on. Okay. I have a question here. Is the stipend sufficient to cover living expenses? I wish we had one of our students here who can give you, you know, like their perspective on this question. One way of looking at this is this. There is a website that I often refer to called Numbeo, numbeo.org, which allows you to compare living expenses between your current city and another city. So for example, if you want to know, based on your lifestyle choices, how much money you would need to live in Istanbul, then you enter your details there. For example, how many times you eat outside on the week, if you take public transport, or you have to, or you spend, you know, gas on a car, like depending on all of those things, then it gives you an estimate of what's needed monthly. To give you a reference, the minimum salary in Turkey right now, it's around, if I'm not wrong, 2,700. Eji, can you help me with that? What is the minimum salary here?
Did you say this amount like the
Asgari ücreti. Yeah.
salary?
And
Sorry?
actually, these amounts will be updated in September. So then they will, actually, we will increase the amounts from this September on.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, when you combine the monthly stipend plus the housing aid that you would receive every month, we think that it is enough. Of course, depending on your choices, some people can live very well with that amount. Some people don't, because they just, you know, they need to spend more money for whatever reason. So that's the answer, let's say. Can someone with pharmacy background apply? Yes. Okay. Let's see. Again, another question about Bachelor of Pharmacy. There was a question of someone with a bachelor's in biology. Yes, of course, they can apply. Okay, so there is a question here, like where, I guess the question is, where can they see the full list of faculty members of the program in immunology on you know, to choose who they want to work with, or to mention who they want to work with. So on the Graduate School of Health Sciences website, you will find the programs that are offered. In the immunology program, there is a section called faculty. So you can see the main faculty members there. When you click on their profiles, then you can see their, they will have links to their homepages, where you can see what specifically they're working on, like recent publications or their CV. And you can also find their contact details in terms of their email address. So in the website that I mentioned before, international.ku, we have some guides in terms of, you know, good practice, or, you know, protocol, or etiquette in terms of contacting faculty members to make sure that it's more likely that you will get an answer. Okay. Okay. We have a question here. So very specific. So I think Jana is okay if I hope that I mentioned that, but she has 3.7 GPA, GRE 154, TOEFL 85, but no research lab experience. And is it, is it good enough to be eligible for the PhD program? So that I think I'll ask that question for Professor Yildiz and Professor Yasmin to answer.
Actually, it is possible, especially for the combined PhD program and also for the normal PhD program. For example, some medical doctors, they are coming to do the PhD, and actually they don't know anything about the laboratory work, but here they have to learn. So that time, if you don't know a lot about the techniques, you have to spend more time compared to the other students in the lab, and then you will learn. Actually, this is the place, master and the PhD is the place for getting this knowledges and experiences. So you can apply, don't worry.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
And we had questions here, if somebody has a medical doctor's degree, if they can apply also directly to the PhD program. The answer is yes, possible. Can I enter the MS and get course conversion to PhD? Yes, that also happens sometimes for students, that they start on the master's and then they continue to the PhD. So, then we have a question here, just to remind you of the deadline for application. So 26th of June, 2020, that's the deadline for the Graduate School of Health Sciences application. Somebody here who is writing from the UK saying they don't until mid-August. When is the last application date? So as we said, just please make sure that you include all the transcripts that you have, at your disposal right now, showing the courses you have taken so far with the grades that you have so far and your GPA, even if it doesn't include your last semester grades, but at least it shows the courses that you're enrolled in. Okay. There is a question here. So there's a question, should we apply separately for the scholarship? No. There is a single application form that you will find in our online application system. So you will select first the Graduate School of Health Sciences, then you will select the Master or PhD in Immunology. You complete that form, you submit the form, and you will be evaluated both for admission and for a scholarship if it applies. As we said, if your academic profile merits granting a partial, in the case of masters, partial tuition scholarship, then you will be informed when you are being interviewed and also later when you get an offer or a conditional offer.
But Melissa, I have to add something. For the Turkish scholarship, they have to apply separately, isn't that?
Yes, but again, there's some flexibility there in that what's important is because the Turkish scholarships, they have a deadline, which is end of February. We have now passed that deadline. However, what they need to do is to create a username, create a user on their application system so that they're in the system, let's say. If the applicant applies in our online application system, the Coach one, they are shortlisted, they're interviewed, they do very well. Okay, then the Graduate School of Health Sciences, we provide a list of those candidates to Türkiye Bursları, to the Turkish Scholarship Organization, and we say, we would like to nominate these students for the Türkiye scholarships, PhD scholarship or master scholarship. Then they give approval for that. And then they sort of open the system again so that those candidates can complete their form. There is a process that has to do with certifying documents like your passport, your diploma, your transcripts. Of course, this year, all of this is going to be done later than planned because of all the restrictions that we have in place. But yeah, so again, I don't want to confuse people right now, but yes, so the answer is for Türkiye Bursları, there is a separate application form. The deadline has passed, but that's okay. I mean, the main point is that you need to apply in our system, which is more important because you need to be evaluated by our faculty members for admission, okay? There's a question here. Do you have a limited quota for international candidates, either for master's or PhD? No, I mean, that's the answer. So I think that the question from Amir Human, I just answered, which is about, again, filling out the separate form for Turkey Bursa'da. Some of these things we have to be updating on a week-by-week basis because we're also getting information from Turkish scholarships about the changes that they're making to their timeline for this year specifically, okay? Another person who studied medical laboratory sciences bachelor degree, can I apply for immunology? So I think the answer is yes, yeah?
Yeah, he or she can apply. Yes, Yasemin Hocam?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay. So somebody here to say, you know, you have ISI, like ISI articles, high ranking GPA, with IELTS, are we invited to interview? I wish we could tell you yes or no, the person asking this, but again, it's up to the faculty members to check all of the documents. Remember that also the statement of purpose is important to make sure that it clearly explains why you're a strong candidate, how your research interests are aligned with those of the program, of one or more of the faculty members in the program. So just to give you an example, if you're interested, let's say in, let's say long tumors and nobody's working on that, you know, within the program, even though you have a very strong profile, they may not shortlist you because simply there's no possible supervisors. But if you're interested in liver tumors, like we know, as you saw on one of the slides that Professor Yildiz showed, that there are groups working on that. So that would make it more likely that you're shortlisted because your research topics or of interest are aligned with those of the program faculty members, okay? There's another question here. That's a good question. Would I be considered as a hesitant applicant and decrease my chances to be accepted if I want to apply to 2 programs at the same time? For example, Master's in Immunology and Master's in Medical Microbiology. What do you think, Professor Yasemin, Professor Yildiz?
I wrote an answer, so
Okay.
he or she can apply. That doesn't cause any problem. And previous years we have seen candidates like that. So no problem.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Another question here. I think the question is coming on. Let me just check how we're doing on time. We're okay. Can we apply for working as a research assistant? So essentially all of our PhD students work as research assistants for up to 20 hours. Is that correct? Is it 20 hours per week?
Actually,
No.
at least 10 hours
At least, no.
in a week. At least.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, when you join as a PhD student, one of the duties or responsibilities that you have is to work as a research assistant as part of a group or lab with your supervisor. So yeah, I mean, you will essentially be already working as a research assistant. Is a profound knowledge of immunology needed or just the basics? What do you think, Professor Yildiz?
Sorry, can you repeat it because I?
Yeah, so it's a profound or deep knowledge of immunology needed or just the basics?
It's depend on you because we have different courses also. If you take that course, maybe you can deeply learn immunology. It depends on you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. We have another question here. There be any part-time jobs available for master students on campus? Again, for master with thesis students, you are also doing some research assistantship work every week, and also teaching assistance jobs in some cases. So Ejid, do we have examples of students who also work part-time in other parts of the campus? I mean, other.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. So again, the programs are focused towards you, you know, doing your coursework and then working with your supervisor on a project that will then lead to the writing of a dissertation or thesis at the master's level. So it doesn't leave that much time to be working somewhere else, let's say, okay? Even on campus. There is a question here. What is a thesis? Which I don't know if you mean like when we talk about master and PhD thesis, I would ask you to look it up online because it's a very general question. There's a question here. Do you have scholarship cooperation with African countries? At the moment, there's two avenues. One is for students with Ghanaian nationality. We have a scholarship agreement with the Scholarship Secretariat of Ghana. If you're not from Ghana, if you're from another African country, then what I would ask you is to consider the Turkish scholarships. And as I said, you can write to us individually and we'll send you a very detailed email with, you know, how to apply for this, okay? Okay. A similar question for Iranian students, like if there's any specific scholarship for Iranian students. We don't have a specific one for Iranian students. You apply to our Koç University scholarships. We do have a lot of Iranian students at Koç University, I have to say that. Most of them are currently in the Graduate School of Sciences and Engineering, pursuing, again, graduate degrees in basic sciences or in engineering. But I also know, Ejid, now we have also Iranian students in the Graduate School of Health Sciences, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so and they apply to the normal Koç scholarships, let's say they receive the normal, yeah. Okay, so please do apply if you're from Iran. There's no, you know, there's a lot of fellow countrymen and countrywomen here at Koç University, and we really value those students. They're usually excellent academically in terms of, yeah, in every aspect.
But also I have to add, Melissa, that we encourage them to apply to Turkish scholarships.
Yes.
And maybe if there is a difference between Turkish scholarship and Koç University, actually we are providing the difference.
Okay. Another question here. Do you recommend medical doctors who are just about to graduate this summer to take a master's or a PhD program? Would a PhD be overwhelming for a very recent bachelor graduate? What do you think, Dr. Yasmin?
Actually, I wrote there, and it's like, it depends on the what he or she wants to do. If she wants to continue in the academic field, then I recommend taking the PhD. But if he or she wants to improve the language in that field, the knowledge in that field, and learn some new techniques and new stuff, and then continue in the industry, hospitals, or other areas, then master's degree will be enough for that. So it depends on what he or she wants.
Okay, great. There's someone here who says that they joined late. They just want to know if there is a waiver because of coronavirus in terms of providing the IELTS or the other required tests. The answer is yes, you can apply without them and you will be evaluated without them, but you may receive a conditional acceptance and you have to bring them at some point. So it's not completely waived, you know, like we don't forget about that because there's regulations that we have to comply with. But yes, you can apply without them if you don't have them. There was a question here about somebody who wants to study immunology with tumor and work in this field in Turkey. If I study immunology, can I work in the field of immuno-oncology in Turkey?
Difficult question. Actually, he or she can work at the research and development departments of the industry, but maybe in clinical work, it may not be possible, but they can be hired also some hospitals, laboratories.
Okay. Is it because there's national regulations in terms of who can practice in terms of clinical immuno-oncology.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. I mean, similar to other countries, like you might need a special like equivalency or take again some, yeah, like to have your full degree recognized here. So, okay. There was a question here. What may we be asked about during the interview? Do we want to give some, Professor Yasemin, Professor Yildiz, do you want to give some, like, what are you looking for during the interview?
Actually, we are looking for why he or she interested in this program, what is his or her desires for the future to become, and actually the previous experiences and knowledge. It's a kind of, they have to actually show us themselves in order for us to understand if they are suitable for the program. Also, our faculty members, we are making the interview together. So if they want to work with some faculty member, there they can discuss about the possibilities. So I recommend before coming, just look at the faculty members, maybe send emails and discuss the possibilities. And if a faculty member is interested in you, then you will have a big chance to be taken to the program.
Okay, thank you. We have about 6 more questions and then we're going to wrap up. So very interesting questions coming up. So can PhD students work as a teacher assistant too, TA? Like, yes. So also our PhD students have to do a certain number of hours every week as TAs. Do you know, Eja, do you know what's the number of hours that they have to do?
The courses hours, I didn't hear you.
No, to work as teaching assistants, as TAs.
10 hour, I guess, in week.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
as I said before, yes,
Yeah.
it's 10 hour.
Okay.
It's actually 10 hours per week, but for the, since we are a little bit different from the other side of the university, in, for example, life sciences and engineering, they are really doing the teaching assistantship 10 hours per week. But here we just do it like we do some teaching assistantship in the research laboratories, because we don't have the classes like the engineering and the other faculties, because we have the medical faculty.
Yeah.
And they can't do the teaching assistantship in medical students to the medical students. So we have some students coming for the regular research studies, and actually it is a structured program, and we take the research teaching assistantship in this part of the their education.
Okay, great. So again, a question saying, if I have a good resume, is there an opportunity for me to be accepted and afterwards we deliver a GRE? So yes, as I said, we can give conditional admission based on all the other elements of your application, including your resume, grades, statement of purpose, recommendation letters. And if you're offered admission, then we're expecting you to bring a GRE later, okay? With a, you know, and then the offer letter will explain the minimum GRE score requirement. Somebody asked, can I learn this skill in Turkey? Tumor cell implantation and giving intravenous therapy, antibody-based and cellular therapy, ADCs, antibody drug conjugates, dissection of mouse lymphoid organs and tumors, followed by in vitro processing, tissue and cell purification, tissue cell culture, FACS, like FACS, or ELISA, ELISA, forgive me if I'm saying this wrong. Cell proliferation, qPCR, cytokine measurement, flow cytometry. That's a very long list of skills. So thank you, Ahmed, one of the participants. So yes, so can a student during the graduate program learn these skills?
Yes, of course, he can learn, but for example, not giving intravenous therapy to the humans. Actually, for the animal studies, he or she can do that. For the human studies, we have regulations, strict regulations for our country. So it is just on the research base. They can actually learn everything. The others are actually we are using these techniques in daily life of our laboratories like PAX, ELISA, qPCR, and dissection of the lymphoid organs. They are easy and in vitro systems, but for approaching to the human, it's a tricky point. It may not be possible.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. There is a question here about A levels for UK students. I think for you who asked this question, please send us an email because I think you might be interested in a bachelor, like undergraduate level program. And today we're discussing graduate level programs. For graduate levels, of course, we don't require A levels. So please write to us separately and we will explain to you if you're interested, for example, in our molecular biology and genetics undergraduate program or our chemistry program, please write to us. We don't have an undergraduate or bachelor's immunology program. So I hope this clarifies the question. How can a student get a high or low score in the thesis? The thesis, I guess, you're referring to the master thesis or a PhD thesis. So how are the graduate theses evaluated? I guess it's to describe the process, right? So if Professor Yasemin, maybe you can.
Actually, it is like that. Yeah. So you will have a project and you will do a lot of work for it. So you have to have the hypothesis and then you have to describe the pathway to answer your hypothesis, and then you will get results and you will do the discussion about that. So actually it is like the path will be evaluated for giving the score. So I think it's not giving high or low scores. In Turkey, it is like the thesis is accepted or not accepted.
Yeah. So
There's no scores in the thesis part.
There's no grading.
No grade for the thesis.
Okay. There is a pass or fail, basically.
Yeah, actually, it's like that.
Okay. And the thesis evaluation is done by an external committee, correct?
External and internal committee. Actually, it is like for the master, it is like 3 professors. For the PhD, it is at least 5 professors, and 3 of them are outside from the department.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so how to transfer from English language teaching university to Koç University. I guess the question is if you can transfer from a current master program or PhD program to one of our master PhD programs. Please, Eje, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no transfer procedure for graduate programs. You would need to apply as a new student. And after you have been admitted and offered admission, then if you want to have some of the courses that you have already taken be considered for credits that they, accept the credits you have taken, then that is submitted to, again, the graduate school of health sciences, and they evaluate it with the faculty members, and they may or may not approve all of your credits. I hope that answers the question. Has the date of the interview been specified yet? Eje, do you have dates for interviews yet or not?
Actually, we are planning to held on 13 July.
Okay.
Yeah, most probably.
Okay, so again, make sure that if you have already submitted your application in our online application system, or you will be submitting it in the next few weeks before the 26th of June, then check your email around, like before the 13th of July, because that's when the Graduate School of Health Sciences will be contacting by email the shortlisted candidates to schedule a specific time for the interview, okay? And as Edith said, they're planning on 13 July. Of course, that date may change, but that's the plan date. And is there an opening date for the semester? No. Right now, we are working on a scenario in which we start the semester around the second week of September. But as I said, that is all determined by the Higher Education Council of Turkey. They first announce it, and then universities are able to announce on their websites when is the fall semester going to start. Traditionally, we start either in the first or second week of September, sorry. Okay.
Also, I want to add something. Although we don't know what will happen, the interviews can be online depending on the conditions at the time of the interview.
Okay. All right. So we have last two questions. So does this program have some credits for PhD in the curriculum theoretically and practically? I mean, in class. So I guess the question, if I'm reading this right, is that you're asking if you get credits for theoretical courses and others for practical courses. But I think our courses kind of involve both things, right?
Yeah, of course. Both theoretical and practical parts are present. In some courses, it is fully theoretical. In some, it includes the practical parts. Sometimes it is mostly practical. So it depends on the course.
Okay, great. And then last question about the PhD monthly stipend. So if you're doing research assistantship, are we paid again separately from a professor or university, or is it the same? It's the same, right?
It is same, and the amount will be 3,000 before qualification after September. So the amounts are increasing. These are the last year's amounts. Now we are upgrading that. It will be 3,000 Turkish liras before qualification and 3,500 Turkish liras after the qualification exam. Am I right, Ece?
Yes, hocam, you're right. Yes.
Okay. So I think with that, we just ran over by about 4 minutes out of our scheduled 4:30 end time. I want to thank you very much for those of you who stayed right until the end of today's webinar. I'm going to put back the slide with the contact details for the graduate school so that you can see it here. If you have any questions after today, please make sure you check the website. If you're an international applicant, here's again our contact details. So I hope that was useful for you. Thank you so much again for coming. I'm going to ask now our other panelists to say goodbye, and then we will close today's webinar.
Thank you very much for listening us, and we encourage you to apply our programs. I am Yasemin Özdemir, the director.
Thank you for your thank you for joining. I am Yıldız Tütüncü.
AJ, you want to say goodbye before we go?
Yeah, I want to say goodbye, of course. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you, Melissa, for everything.
That's okay. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope you stay safe, and we look forward to receiving your applications before the 26th of June. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.